So we discussed about the long run production functions, maybe 3 classes back. So there we understood that in the long run, there will not be any fixed input, because how we define the short run, that is the period in which at least we will be having one fixed input. But in the long run, there will not be any fixed input. So all the inputs will be variable. Right? So this is what we mean by the long run. And also we discussed with the production functions, the long run production function is consisting of several short runs. Right? What I mean by that, I hope you remember the example which I took about Uvela's University. So we started the university with 147 students with 3 buildings. Right? With the same 3 buildings, we expanded. Let's say up to 1,000 students. So we could accommodate 1,000 students. That is known as short run. Right? Because we had one fixed input. Our fixed input was the space. We had fixed space for like 3-4 years. So we expanded the output, number of students. This is the output for university. Then when it got into 1,000, we understood that the space is limited. So then what we did, we changed the space. We built the block D, E, and F. Then what happened? We moved into long run. We changed all our production factors. There is no any fixed input. Then after getting these 3 buildings, again we started increasing the number of students. So we keep our space fixed again. Now we are having 6 buildings. So then what happened? We increased 1,100, 1,500, 2,000, 2,500 like. Right? So we were in the short run. So we got into a long run, and in that long run, we had a short run. So then when we got into like 3,000, we understood again space is not limited. So then what we did, we built the technology building, G block, and all these other buildings. Right? So then we moved into the long run. So in that long run, also we are having the short run. Now we are increasing the number of students. Probably we go for 3,500, 4,000, or up to 5,000. Then we need to increase again our space. So therefore, we can say that like the production functions, in the long run cost functions, also we are having several short runs in the long run. So here I am having those short runs which we discussed. So this is one short run cost curve. This is another short run cost curve, another short run cost curve. Likewise, as I said, so we will be having several long run. We have this short run, and then we expand all our inputs. So we get into long run. Then we have the short run for some time, and then we get into the long run again. So we are having another short run. So likewise, we are having several short runs. So if you connect the minimum points of all these short runs, assuming that we are having millions of short runs like this, small curves. So then we can connect all these minimum points and take the long run cost curve. So this is the long run average total cost curve. But remember, there will not be any variable cost in the, any fixed cost in the long run, because all the inputs are variables. Therefore, we are having all the curve, or when we say total cost, that includes the cost of all variable costs. There is no any fixed cost. Then something is missing here, that is the MC. So each of these ACs will have MCs. So these MCs are the short run MC curves, like this. Our decision will be based on this short-run cost curve, MC equal to MR, and at this point, always in the long run, we will be making our decisions at this place. So we have MR, MC, the short-run MR and MC along this curve. Then one point I want to highlight is the returns to scale, which we discussed in the previous class. So in the previous class, we discussed there is a concept called returns to scale. In fact, the behavior of the long run production curves depends on the returns to scale. So where we learn there will be increasing returns to scale, decreasing returns to scale, and constant returns to scale. What do we mean by increasing returns to scale? Any idea? What do we mean by increasing returns to scale? We learned in the previous class. Under production functions, we learn returns to scale. Then we are having increasing returns to scale. What do we mean by increasing returns to scale? So if you remember what we discussed in the previous class, we said returns to scale. What do we mean by scale? Scaling up. Scaling up means we are expanding. How to expand our production process? That is by increasing all the inputs. If we increase or change all our inputs, then we are increasing the scale. So when we expand our production process, what is happening to our output? This is known as returns to scale. Right? When we increase all our inputs, in our case, we are having capital and labor. Right? In the short run, we kept capital fixed. We had only changed the labor. But in the long run, we change both labor and capital. So returns to scale says when we increase both capital and labor with the same proportion. When we increase both capital and labor with the same proportion, what is happening to our output? Is it increasing or decreasing? Or it is the same? For example, we can increase both capital and labor by 10%. When we increase both capital and labor by 10%, then what is happening to our output? Is it increasing by 10%? Or is it increasing less than 10%? Let's say 2%. Then we say decreasing returns to scale because we increase the scale by 10, our output increased by 2. So it is decreasing. Or when we increase our inputs by 10%, output may be increased more than 10%, maybe 15%. Then we say increasing returns to scale. So this is how we define the returns to scale, especially increasing, decreasing, and constant. Right? So simply, it is what is happening to our output when we increase our inputs by certain proportion. This is called returns to scale. Then, if you understood that, you can put the same into the cost function. Right? So we learn our in the previous class, we learned that the production function, in the long run production function, will have 3 scenarios. If you remember, the example which I took 2 weeks back is a lady who is having 1 sewing machine. Then she was increasing her scale, like 2 sewing machines and 2 people, and then some labors, and then 30 sewing machines, so 1,000 sewing machines, likewise. In the beginning, what happens when she increases the number of sewing machines and the labors, her output will be increasing. Right? So we are experiencing increasing returns to scale in the beginning of a production function. So I took even Uvavelasa as an example. Uvavelasa University, we were having increasing returns to scale in the beginning, like when we had 147 students. So when we increased the number of students, we didn't want to increase the number of teachers and the buildings. So what happens to the cost? When we increase our output more than the input, our cost will be decreasing. So you can see it here. So cost will be decreasing. And then about that lady which I mentioned, if she is continue to increase after 1,000 machines, then she may need some managers, maybe line managers or supervisors. So therefore, when she expand her scale, cost also will be increasing at the same rate, because it is not only machines and the labors. We need some management staff there, maybe like supervisors, foremen, and so on. So what happened? Our cost also will be increasing at the same rate. So output will be increasing. If it is 10% increase in input, that will increase the output also by 10%. So which says our cost also will be increasing by 10%. Therefore, in the middle of an organization, we will be having constant returns to scale. That is what we are experiencing at Uvalasa University today. Right? To increase the number of students, we need to increase the same amount of cost. Now we are experiencing somewhat constant returns to scale. But let's assume our lady, she will be increasing furthermore. She is going to have 2 factories or 3 factories in different places or in different countries. Then what happens? So she will be putting this into market, in the share market, and then we have the director board, and management staff totally will be different from the owner. She will be just the owner, and there will be a professional staff managing the business. So what happens? Output will be increasing. When we increase our inputs, output will be increasing, but cost will be increasing more than that. And so our cost will be increasing thereafter. This is maybe because of communication errors. The example I took, when the lady was the owner and had the full control about the factory, if there is something wrong, that lady will make the decision quickly and rectify the problem, so there is no any waste. We can quickly do the remedial work. But let's take a factory which is having all around the country as well as in foreign countries. Then they will find a fault or mistake in the production line. That should get into the foreman, and then foreman to the line supervisors. So line supervisors to the production manager to the general manager, then to the director board. So we will be discussing in the director board and then take the decision, and it will be coming back again to the general manager, factory manager, line managers, the production managers, line supervisors, up to the worker. By that time, we had made a lot of waste. Right? So therefore, cost will be increasing. This is same for Uvalasa University. Now, when we are going for more than 5,000 students, of course, there will be some troubles. So up to now, we have no any, agitations or maybe like some, maybe not good, but anyway, that's given the current situation of the country. You had all this. But anyway, we will be having some difficult times even in the university. So when we increase the scale, we have to bear a lot of cost. We will not be that much effective if we are going to increase any further number of students. So therefore, simply with this reduced to scale, we can understand the long run cost curve will be decreasing in the beginning, constant after that, and increasing after some time. In fact, the same behavior you could see with this one. And so if you are having several short runs, so the behavior of the short run curves will be like that. So this is why we have the long run cost curve, something like this.